Carl Jung said some souls are born to wake up if you've been called to. Sensitive your entire life if you feel things. Others don't if, you're different, but can't explain why this video will prove. You're not brokenio, a spiritually powerful soul. Awakening there are 7 hidden signs. You probably have 5 of them already, and if you recognize even 3 of them. Everything, your loneliness, your dreams, that strange knowing you've always had will finally make sense. Let me show you something most people never see. There is a quiet moment most people never talk about. It doesn't arrive with lightning or noise. It arrives in a gentle, almost private way, like a tide coming in at night. You're sitting alone. Maybe it's late and the room is still. Maybe you've just woken from a dream that refuses to fade. Or you've just felt that familiar ache in your chest again, the one that starts when the world feels too loud and too thin at the same time. In that moment, you hear a truth you've avoided for years. There is something inside you that will not be silenced. It isn't anger. It isn't pride. It is a depth that refuses to settle for a half-lived life. All your life, you've been told you're too sensitive, too intense, too deep. As if your ability to feel and see beneath the surface was a defect to be corrected. You learned how to dim your light to keep others comfortable. You learned how to laugh at your own intuition so people wouldn't call you strange. You learned how to survive. But survival is not the same as living. And tonight, something in you refuses to pretend. It refuses to explain away the way your dreams speak in symbols. The way your body knows the truth before your mind. The way you seem to notice patterns and meanings long before anyone else. If that's you, understand this. You're not broken. You're waking up. What you're experiencing is a reorientation of your inner compass. Your psyche is rearranging its furniture. The old map where you're navigated by roles, masks, and expectations stops working. And somewhere beneath the noise of modern life, a deeper voice raises. It doesn't shout. It invites. It says, "Come home." Carl Jung devoted his life to this inner cartography. He observed that the human being is not finished at adulthood. We are called into wholeness by something larger than the ego, something he called the self. And when the self begins to stir, strange things happen. The surface starts to crack. Synchronicities multiply. Old identities grow brittle. What used to motivate you no longer matters. What used to scare you suddenly feels like a doorway. Most people run at this point. They cling to the familiar until the familiar becomes a trap. But if you choose a different path. You stop negotiating with your soul. You allow the truth to be true. And when you do, your life doesn't collapse, it unfolds. You don't become better than anyone. You become more you. Your sensitivity turns into discernment. Your intuition becomes guidance. Your solitude becomes a sanctuary, and the very wounds you tried to hide become the place where your power takes root. This is the beginning of a different kind of life. The life of a spiritually powerful soul, not powerful in the noisy way the world celebrates, but powerful in the quiet, steady way that reshapes reality from the inside out. If you've felt the call, if you've seen the signs, if you've sensed that your path leads inward before it leads outward, welcome. You're not late. You're right on time, and by the end of this journey, you'll understand why everything had to happen exactly as it did. So let's begin with the first hidden sign. Sin 1, the call of the deep self. It begins as a restlessness that logic can't soothe. On paper, things may look fine, but the inner atmosphere says otherwise. You sense a gap between who you've become and who you are. You notice yourself going quiet in rooms that used to excite you. You start declining invitations without a convincing reason. Something inward is requesting your full attention. Psychologically, this is the ego encountering the self. Think of the self as the architect of your inner city. It doesn't demand demolition. It invites redesign. The first phase of redesign is honest appraisal. You can't fix what you won't face. So the call of the deep self often arrives with a spotlight. It illuminates contradictions. The way you preach boundaries, but accept disrespect. The way you value truth, but self-abandon to avoid conflict. The way you yearn for meaning yet schedule away all silence. In dreams, this call appears as thresholds, bridges, doorways, staircases. In the body, it appears as tightness in the chest around people who drain you, or a sudden calm in places that nourish you. In daily life, it appears as a soft refusal. You simply cannot keep performing the old script. The spiritually powerful soul obeys this call, not because it's dramatic, but because it's precise. You follow the thread of aliveness wherever it leads, and you let what isn't truly yours fall away. Application. Set a daily appointment with yourself. 10 minutes minimum. Ask, what feels false in my week? What feels true but underfed? The answers will be small and actionable. Cancel one meeting, take one long walk, write one page. The deep self speaks in specifics, not grand gestures. Transition. As soon as you heed the call inward, you hit the border wall, the ego built to protect you. On the other side is everything you've exiled. Sign to descent into shadow. Return with power. No tree grows to heaven unless its roots reach down to what is dark. The second sign isn't glamorous. You meet your shadow, not the villain in a mythic tale, the exiled child in your own story. The parts of you you were punished for embodying. The traits you judged in others while secretly fearing in yourself. This descent is spiritual, not because it's mystical, but because it's honest. Shadow isn't only rage, envy, or lust. It's also gold. Talents you bury to stay loved. The quickness of your perception you downplayed because it made people uncomfortable. The strength of your boundaries you labeled selfish because others preferred you pliable. Shadow work retrieves both the wounds and the gifts. How it shows up. Disproportionate reactions. You're calm, then a small comment floods your body with heat. That heat is a map. Follow. Italiano. Ask, what memory did this moment awaken? What story did I just tell myself? If you can witness the reaction without fusing with it, you reclaim authorship. The alchemy. Bringing shadow to light doesn't make you nice. It makes you whole. You stop outsourcing your darkness to the people around you. You stop needing a scapegoat. And when you no longer fear your own depth, you carry a stabilizing presence. Others may not understand it, but they feel it. You are harder to manipulate, easier to trust. Application. Keep a projection log. Each time someone triggers you, capture the sentence you want to say about them, then rewrite it as a nice statement that names a trait you're disowning. Example, she's so controlling becomes I control my own feelings by judging hers. This is surgical work. It is not about blame. It is about precision. Transition. When shadow softens, reality begins to answer you back in strange, intimate walls. Synchronicity and the symbolic life, meaningful coincidences, multiply when you're aligned with your deep trajectory. You think of an old mentor and receive their message. You journal a symbol line. Lighthouse Labyrinth, and the same symbol appears on a book cover during your commute. It's not superstition. It's pattern recognition. The psyche speaks in images when consciousness listens. Life replies in kind. Jung coined synchronicity to describe a causa yet meaningful connections between inner events and outer occurrences. The spiritually powerful soul does not worship synchronicity, but it cooperates with it. You treat synchronicity as a directional nudge, not a decree. You cross-reference the sign with your sober intuition and your lived values. Symbol without discernment becomes fantasy. Discernment without symbol becomes arid. You are learning the marriage of both. Practically, this is how purpose begins to reveal itself. Not as a memo from the sky, but as a trail of breadcrumbs. You follow the resonant conversation, the unexpected invitation, the book that happens to land in your path. Over time, these tiny yeses draw the outline of a path that could never be planned from the outside. Application. Create a symbol ledger. Note recurring images and dreams, songs, films, street posters. Write what each symbol evokes feeling first, meaning second. Let the ledger simmer. Patterns will surface in weeks, not minutes. Transition. As symbols accumulate, the mask that once earned you safety starts to chafe. You can't keep pretending you're only what the world applauds. Signed for the death of the old persona and the birth of Rielda. Persona is the interface, the polished surface that lets you move through society. It's helpful until it hardens. When awakening deepens, the old mask becomes unwearable. You can still put it on, but it teaches. The smile arrives half a second late. The laugh doesn't ring true. Your body knows. Your calendar knows. Your friends who love your essence not. Your performance know. This stage can look like loss. Friendships fade, ambitions dissolve, routines disintegrate. But look closer and you'll see pruning, not failure. What is false is falling away to make room for what is alive. In mythic terms, this is the night sea journey, the time between identities. In psychological terms, it's a reorganization around a more authentic center. The aim is not to have no persona. The aim is to have a flexible one that serves the self. Grief comes here. Let it. You're not only losing illusions. You're releasing strategies that once kept you safe. Think, then, retire, then, build new ones that tell the truth. You are not abandoning the world. You are re-entering it without betraying yourself. Application. Audit your yeses. For 1 month, each time you say yes, add a private note. Yes, from fear. Yes, from duty. Yes, from love. Yes, from alignment. No judgment, just data. By the end of the month, your map will be obvious. Then act on it. Transition. When the performance stops, another voice becomes audible, the inner guide that doesn't shout yet cannot mislead. Sign 5. The emergence of inner guidance. Call it the self. Call it God's whisper. Call it the wise elder who lives inside your chest. Language is secondary. The experience is unmistakable. An unforced clarity arrives where confusion used to live. You don't suddenly know the whole path, but you know the next step, and the next step is enough. This is not magical thinking. It's what happens when your attention is no longer scattered across roles and rituals that aren't yours. The psyche's signal to noise ratio improves. Intuition is simply perception without the usual static. It's not a substitute for analysis. It is the companion that tells you where to look. In dreams, the inner guide appears as a mentor, an animal of unusual calm, a stranger who hands you a key. In waking life, guidance feels like a physical settling. Your breath drops, your shoulders loosen, your jaw unclenches, and a sentence arrives, fully formed. Send the message. Decline the offer. Book the trip. Start the draft. Application. Practice one true thing. Once. Adi. Speak one truth to yourself that costs you something. I'm lonely in this friendship. I want to build, not maintain. I'm done apologizing for my energy. Truth trains guidance. The more you honor small inner truths, the more you can be entrusted with larger ones. Transition. As guidance strengthens, you become capable of a rare feat in modern life, holding opposites without splitting. Sign 6. Holding the tension of opposite spiritual power is not domination. It is capacity. Capacity to remain whole when life pulls you in contradictory directions. Jung called this holding the tension of opposites. Instead of rushing to premature solutions, you let paradox ripen you. You allow grief and gratitude to coexist. You make room for ambition and surrender, discipline and play, contemplation and boldness. Why is this power? Because most conflictiner and other comes from the refusal to hold paradox. We split and project. I'm the good one, they're the bad one. I'm spiritual, they're material. I'm awake, they're asleep. The psyche punishes this kind of simplification with stagnation, when you hold tension without collapsing into cynicism or naivety. The third thing emerges with Jung called the transcendent function. It's the creative solution you couldn't have reasoned your way into. It's the conversation that softens the stalemate. It's the design, the poem, the company you build that honors value A and value B without betraying either. Abolish. Choose one live paradox in your life and stop trying to solve it this week. Instead, list the gifts on both sides and the fears on both sides. Ask daily, what is the third way I haven't imagined yet? Then, stay open. The answer arrives sideways in a line of dialogue, a paragraph, in a book, a sentence you hear from a stranger in a cafe. Transition out of this capacity. Purpose stops being a slogan and starts being a felt current. You don't chase it. You recognize it. Sign 7. Purpose is consequence, not command. Purpose is not a command from the sky. It is the byproduct of an integrated life. After you've answered the call, descended into shadow, learned the language of Simba, released the false persona, and honored inner guidance while holding paradox, something organic happens. You become usable to life, not special. Usable. Your gifts are no longer trapped behind shame or performance. They move. In practice, purpose arrives as a pattern of service you can't stop offering. You notice that people come to you for the same thing again and again. Clarity under pressure, courage in transition, translation between worlds, healing through humor, beauty in barren places. You build around that pattern, not to inflate an identity, but to fidelity. Fidelity to the current that moves through you when you're honest. This is how vocation forms. This is how spiritually powerful souls contribute without preaching. They become themselves so thoroughly that their presence does half the work. Application. List 3 situations where your energy changes a room for the better without effort. Build offerings that formalize those moments. A weekly call, a workshop, a newsletter, a studio hour, a salon at home. Small, consistent, faithful. Purpose grows by attention, not announcement. Conclusion. Your power was never loud. It was precisive. You've recognized yourself in these signs. Don't declare yourself finished. You're not an end point. You're a beginning that keeps beginning. The path is circular, not linear. You will hear the call again at deeper levels. You will meet new layers of shadow, encounter richer symbols, release subtler personas, and receive clearer guidance. You will hold harder opposites and be given truer work. This is not because you're failing. It's because your soul trusts you with more. What others called too much was capacity. What you call the weird was sensitivity tuned to meaning. What felt like collapse was the scaffolding falling away so the cathedral could be seen. You were not late. You were being made. Walk gently and firmly. Tell the truth faster. Keep the room in your day where silence can find you. And remember, power is not how loudly you move the world. It's how faithfully you let the real move through you.